Woo! I am back from playing not a PS1 game, not an NES game, not an SNES game, but a PlayStation 2 game. PS2 games and I feel have a love-hate relationship. Back in the day, loved it. Playing them now, Rogue Galaxy for the PlayStation 2 released January 30th, 2007, and in Japan, 2005. In December of 2015, it was made available digitally on the PlayStation 4, which is what I played it on. I admit I literally had no interest in this game until I saw it on PSN. I don't know what it was, but the trailer was so captivating, I could not get it out of my mind. I'd even have the title screen pulled up while I'm in my room doing other things just to taunt me into playing. And finally, here we are. Rogue Galaxy explains what the current events of the world, explaining the war between the Lungardian Federation and the Draxan Empire. The Federation stations its units on planet Rosa, which is rich in resources. Also claimed to protect it from the Draxan Empire. Jaster Rogue, a boy who was mysteriously left on Priest Raoul's doorstep, was raised on planet Rosa for 17 years. Unhappy with the Lungardian army paroling Rosa, he often dreamed of leaving and traveling space. Well, lucky him, a giant beast attacks the town. Joined by a mysterious man, they head to take on the beast. Meanwhile, two other quirky characters are looking for Desert Claw. The man parts ways with Jaster, giving him a legendary blade before the two catch up with Jaster. They recognize the blade as the Desert Seeker, belonging to the world-renowned hunter, Desert Claw. Jaster, now believed to be Desert Claw, fights off the beast and is recruited to join the intergalactic pirates of the Dorganark. It turns from a young lad who just wanted to see the galaxy to a race to planet Eden, the planet that is filled with unseen treasures. But the gates can only be opened with the Great Tablet. Meanwhile, there is still a feuding war, questionable experimentation, and sketchy business dealings that hinder our heroes. Rogue Galaxy takes an interesting positioning on storytelling. The war, in a sense, is the main focus, but the angle is from third parties who would benefit from the war, rather than the two main sides themselves. I kind of enjoyed that stance, but it did leave much to be desired. It was very open-ended, and I think the Draxan Empire was mentioned maybe like 3 times. And still on the topic of storytelling, I love every time you boot up Rogue Galaxy, it reminds you of the story thus far. I feel every JRPG should do that. Rogue Galaxy has a very goofy and widespread range of characters. Jaster, our main protagonist, who has the worst haircut I've ever seen, Kisala, the pretty girl, Armadillomon, Littlefoot, Mini Iron Giant, Sexy Pirate, Busty Amazon Lady, and Gross. It's a super intergalactic cast, some with more zest than others. The characters have a lot of spunk, and it's never a dull moment aboard the Dorganark. Now, the gameplay is something. I feel some of the fault lies within me because I came from Tales of Grace's F, which you could imagine my heavy disappointment when I wasn't getting that same satisfying, speedy, and frankly addictive combat. Rogue Galaxy is an action JRPG. You move around in real time, and you have an action gauge above your character. The gauge depletes if you attack, use an ability, or an item. Once the gauge empties, you can't attack again until it charges up. It does not recharge if you do nothing. It must be completely empty before it charges up, which felt kind of odd. You would kind of throw away an attack or item just to get it charging again. Although if you guard against an enemy attack while the gauge is completely empty, it refills immediately. Each character has a main weapon and a sub-weapon for ranged attacks. Jaster's gun, for example, has its own gauge, representing the bullets and the recharge time. Some only have 1 bullet but freeze a target, etc, etc. Also, burn chips will drop from striking the enemy and collect enough and you can do a burn strike, which are time button attacks. Every character can do a burn strike with their own unique combo. Now, the use of abilities is when this game becomes broken. Some abilities boost stats, deal damage, debuff enemies, and yes, thankfully you can skip them. Abilities are earned by the Revelation flowchart. Use bot or enemy dropped items to unlock skills. The thing is, abilities are super overpowered, but are necessary. If you're like me and you hoard your ability points or AP for that just in case moment, don't. It's extremely difficult to take on these tough enemies without spending a drop of AP. Plus, almost every ability is all hitting. Targets all enemies or all party members. Even combo moves that require certain characters in your party do a sort of all-out attack. Honestly, using an offensive ability usually offs the enemies right away. If not, they're left with so little health that you can easily pick them off. Monsters attack frequently and they hit hard. You will constantly find yourself in the quick menu, healing you and your party after a few hits. This game knows the monsters are out for blood, and if they didn't, they wouldn't allow you to carry 50 heal potions that heal half your health. They also wouldn't be putting shops in dungeon areas because they know you'll be restocking often. And if there are no shops, there'll sure as hell be save points, aka transporters, that can transport you to a transporter that's close to a shop. When you touch a transporter, it goes from red to blue, and you can now transport to any transporter that you've been to on the planet. Rogue Galaxy is very aware of how savage its monsters are and how frequent you'll be using abilities. Also, not all enemies can be defeated by swinging your sword or using abilities right away. Gripe number 2, instead you'll have to jump on some. Others break their shield or barrier, throw them into one another, or maybe hit a specific body part. Mini rant. When it comes to enemies with shields and barriers, your teammates are idiots and frankly useless. Shields, at least everyone can break with a charge attack, or your team can keep pointlessly attacking. Now, barriers only can be broken with the barrier break shot, a gun that only Jaster can use and is only good for breaking barriers. Deals no damage. It is annoying to have to switch your equipment mid-battle for these specific enemies only to be able to have one character dispel the barrier. It's the worst. Rogue Galaxy also has frightful difficulty spikes hidden throughout dungeons. They're called mimics, and there's no way to distinguish them. They hit insanely hard and have a large amount of HP. The worst part is, you cannot run away. You fight or die trying. Mimics are one of the reasons I save religiously. They are angels of death disguised as treasure chests. Doubtful, but if abilities aren't cutting it for you, make sure you stay well equipped and fuse weapons. After a weapon has been maxed out, fuse it with another maxed out weapon to create something entirely new. And don't worry about creating something worse. Toady the Toad will let you know. If you like, you could play as another character, or order your party to do a specific move. You can also implement strategy like attack different enemies or all target the same enemy. During battle, your party will shout out suggestions, giving you 2 timed options to use an ability or an item. Command them with a click of a button. Some encounters are issued with a challenge. Defeat all monsters with a specific party member or under a certain time limit. You'll be rewarded with a hunter coin and exchange them at the Galaxy Corporation for a hunter's license. The higher ranking license will unlock better items in shops. This brings me to side quests and minigames of Rogue Galaxy. First one is hunting. You can gather quests or take on optional beasts. Defeating several beasts will raise your hunter rank and earning you cool prizes. You'll find both side quest and story-related thinking circles. Use an item based off the hint you're given and something might happen if you choose the right one. There's battling with insectors, pretty much bugs you collect throughout the galaxy and battle them against one another. You'll also gain access to a factory where you can make items that will later be available in shops. You'll find people across the galaxy to give you blueprints to help you get to work, or just useful world knowledge. Gonna be honest with you, I didn't dabble in these much. Not my type of minigame. There's also an optional dungeon in a whole nother side planet should you want more Rogue Galaxy goodness. You would think going to these strange planets would be more fun to travel around. It's just not. These dungeons are super long. I have never been so anxious to get out of a dungeon before. The maps are huge, long, grueling to travel through. Rarely is the environment interesting enough for me to stick around as long as I have to. In the final dungeon, I straight up ran from all the fights because I was over it. I just wanted to get through. At the very least, the mapping was decent. It's also disappointing that you can't fly through space. It's a point and click where you want to go. I feel like part of the grandness of this game was shoved aside because of that. Phew, okay, we can move on to the graphics and music, and both were palatable. The graphics were fine, PS2 era, so painted on faces, fingers smushed together, nothing unusual here besides the dungeon sucking. I did like how loud the colors were, and the NPCs. I felt they were very bright and eye-catching, especially on Planet Zerard. Few games do this, so I gotta point it out. Diversity. Zerard is the most advanced planet, and it makes sense that all walks of life would be there. And the several different types of people you see there is awesome. This planet truly made me feel like I was on an adventure. Even the main cast being different shapes and sizes and species in general was great. I really appreciated that. If I'm gonna play a game that takes place throughout the entire galaxy, I better see more than just humans and humanoids. Also, great work on the cutscenes, very impressive and eye-catching. Kinda looked a little cel-shaded, which to me that's great, that attracts me like a moth to a flame. And lastly, the music, which was nice. Not a jaw-dropping album, but certainly a few memorable tracks. Each world having a different theme, different parts of the world having another, battle themes are high energy. In short, it doesn't do anything bad. What I would like to freak over is some of the cast. I don't know if you're like me, but when I hear a familiar voice, you kind of freak out or go crazy because you know you've heard this voice somewhere. Okay, Jupus, who is he?
I won't go easy on you! We're talking 1,000,000 volts of pure power!
If you guessed number 1 from Codename Kids Next Door or Ben Diskin, you'd be right. And I about freaking lost it when I saw Zegram. I kid you not. I thought to myself, man, Steve Bloom should voice this guy. And then Zegram spoke and I just about lost it.
About the Burkakwa anyway. Listen, do you have any idea what they did to me back in the days?
We have Yuri Lowenthal as Steve, my personal favorite character, and even some NPCs had some awesome, recognizable voices. Anywho, the music I have too. First, y'all know I love me some chanting, and during the title screen and some epic moments in the story, Le Marie Glenacina plays, and it's just beautiful. Listen and bask in its holy melody. I'm a fan of tribal-esque music, and that's exactly what I got when visiting the ancient castle on Juraika, the jungle planet. I remember bobbing my head hard and jamming out, so enjoy A Road to the Ruined Castle. Sick beat, right? Kinda gets me hype. So anyways, Rogue Galaxy scores a 7 for satisfactory, maybe a 7.5. The story does warrant more detailing of the two combating sides. I like the focus of the third party, but the impact of the war didn't feel felt. I like the focus of the third party, who really benefits from this war, but the problem is the war itself, its presence, doesn't make that much of an impact. Honestly, I forgot that there was a war going on, and considering the war is the driving force of why things are happening the way they are, really in like the beginning of the game, I feel like it should have had more of a stage presence. It's like once you become a pirate, you're like, woohoo, fuck the war. Like, I'm off doing my own thing. And you're just like, okay, all right, bye plot. I mean, the plot picks up in a different light, but it's just the war, non-existent. Fuck the war. Let's go to Eden, y'all. Like, bye. And regular battles are such a stressful uphill battle if you don't use any abilities. Hi, I'm one of those people who played the first half of the first world without using abilities, and I had a hell of a time. Despite all that, it's still a relatively lighthearted story that we've all heard before. Don't hate it, don't love it. I think the trailer made it seem a lot more grand than it actually was, and I think that was a bit of a letdown for me. So that about sums up my thoughts and leaves me with the question, what is your favorite PlayStation 2 game that isn't Kingdom Hearts related or Final Fantasy related? And wait, before you go, it is Black History Month, and I wanted to use my small little platform here to highlight some Black-owned, family-operated businesses. This business is called Culture Beautiful on Instagram or Cultural Beautiful Life on Etsy. Y'all know I love fashion, and I actually met a family at an African hair trade show. These earrings are made of wood with original art, with resin, all handmade. They also have paintings, pillows, shirts, and even shower curtains. They're on Etsy, and I've linked them in the description. I want to be very clear, this is not a sponsorship, there's no code or affiliate link. This is me, a lover of all things art, celebrating a month of color, and trying to help a family eat. That's all. If you do make a purchase, be sure to tell them that Lady Pelvic sent you. They don't know I'm doing this, and I'm hoping they'll see a little increase in sales, and hopefully I'll turn some of you guys into regular customers. Thank you guys so much for watching, love your faces, and I'll see you in the next video. Mwah!